Hi, this is Smash Rundown. If you enjoy movie reviews, short, and trailer reactions, you're in the right place. And want to subscribe and hit the like button down below.
Today we're reviewing Carrie from 1976. Carrie is a 1976 horror film directed by Brian De Palma, starring Sissy Spacek as Carrie White and Papa Laurie as Margaret White.
Carrie White is a shy teenage girl who's sheltered by her domineering, religious, zealot mother. After being humiliated at senior prom, she unleashes her telekinetic powers and gets revenge on her school bullies.
So, looking at the good, Sissy Spacek, really good in this. She does Mousy very well. She looks like she doesn't have friends. She looks very bullied. She does a great job at that. She looks very good dressed up for the prom. She does that very well. And she is terrifying come the end of the movie. She looks menacing. She looks like she could burn down a school. So, her range in this movie, really great. I thoroughly enjoyed her performance.
Especially when she had all the blood running down. It almost looked like she didn't have any eyebrows or eyelashes or anything because it almost got like wiped out.
Just
she looked
red.
Yeah, almost not human anymore.
Yes. She was a monster at that point.
Yeah. And this movie really centers around women and coming of age, especially a lot of discourses about purity and menses. And I can see why Carrie in this movie, due to her circumstances, loses her shit. Because she hasn't really been taught how to emotionally regulate at all.
No.
That shower scene where she has her first menses, it's very traumatic.
Very traumatic. Not being told about it at all, that's horrific. That's horrible. How do you do something like that to someone? Because obviously she's going to reach that stage in her life where it's going to happen to her, and it must be terrifying.
You kind of feel like you're dying because you're just bleeding without knowing why.
Yeah.
And her mom's excuse is if she hadn't been impure, then she wouldn't have gotten her menstrual cycle. And it's like, that's not the way it works.
No.
Women don't work like that. You know, at an age you get that, unless, obviously, biologically you can't have children.
Yeah.
But for vast majority of women, they're going to come to an age where they're going to have their period. So you kind of need to prepare them for that. And all this whole thing about, you know, not sleeping around and the way her mother, like, locks her up in the cupboard just because she got her menstrual cycle. Like, that had nothing to do with each other either. You don't get your menstrual cycle if you sleep with someone. Like, that just makes no sense. Even the cross, I'm a bit offhand from that now, in the room where she gets locked up, it's creepy.
It's not the normal depiction of Jesus here to save you type. It's the horrific crucified blood, and it's just, why would you put that up?
Almost like judging and watching because those eyes were so big. So it's like this ever looming presence, which I suppose is what her mom is to her, who criticizes every step you make, and if you do anything, somehow the figure and her mother is going to know, and she's going to get punished and into trouble.
Thrown into a room.
And thrown into a room. Like, that's not how you teach a child how to regulate their emotions. And I feel like somewhat her mother takes out what happened to her father on her.
Yeah.
And also takes out her fear. Because it seems like the mother's scared of Carrie. Because when she was younger, she caused some fire or something. I can't remember exactly.
I can't remember exactly, but
an incident.
Yeah. It's not really dealt with in the movie at all.
They briefly mention it. And so it feels like she's somehow trying to lock Carrie away because she's scared of her and she doesn't know how to deal with her.
Yeah.
And it's sad that this perpetuation of unawareness is passed on from generation to generation because her mother went through similar things and the feelings of guilt and whatnot, and now she's just passing it on to her daughter again to feel the exact same way she feels. And you can see she doesn't feel great about it. So why would you do that to your child? Why would you give that? And why would that be your legacy? It just makes no sense.
I think also just on that point, even though they kind of missed that aspect of the story, in general, it was a really good adaptation of the book. Like, they caught most of the important parts of the book. There maybe are things they could have done a bit better. The end's slightly different, but in general, like, the feel of it, everything is pretty good, pretty accurate to the book.
And even the dialogue is pretty accurate to the book. It's like the people who actually wrote the script had the book next to them and were just like going from there.
They actually read the book.
A novel idea.
Yeah, wow. And the movie does a really good job in being really sad because it gets that across very well. You're sad for Carrie throughout it. You're sad for the friends that are trying to make it the friend that she might have had that's trying to make a difference. You're sad for the guy that actually was being nice to her. He's one of the first to die.
Even though he was reluctant in the beginning.
Yeah. So all around, it's a really sad movie. A lot of bullying, a lot of just sadness. And I mean, it's done very well. It portrays that very well. And it's a good movie because it gets you feeling. So it's good.
It did its job.
Yeah.
And I think that sadness is made even more jarring because we get these two opposing views of the idyllic queen when she's, crowned prom queen.
Yes.
And standing on stage and finally being appreciated by her peers. And then all of a sudden, when that blood comes down, it's violence and anger. And, she sees this guy who was so nice to her, like one of the only people who's ever nice to her, die.
Yeah.
Right next to her. And she loses her shit. And you can almost understand why she does what she does.
Yeah.
Not saying, violence is the way to deal with it, but can understand how, someone who's grown up with her circumstances and then goes to school and, has it happen to them, why they do what they do. You just need that one good person to make a change, and they just ruined it by killing him. And even in the end, when they try and ride her over, like, that woman was a juvenile nutcase.
Total nutcase.
She had no business being at the school. And I know they don't really address it in the movie, but in the books, they talk about how the bully, right?
Yes.
They talk about how she has assaulted and bullied various other children as well previously. And yet, because her father's a lawyer, she constantly gets away with it. And you think, if just one person had said, this is enough, you're being a criminal or you're assaulting people versus, oh, it's just a school bully, which kind of gives it this levity. It would have been different because she would have been taken care of. The bucket of blood would never have happened. And so, people wouldn't have died.
Yes.
And so people keep on looking at school bullying as if it's, it's not so bad. And actually it really is.
Yes.
So it just makes me so angry to watch the bullying and people just say, it's not a big deal, it's okay.
It's assault.
Yeah, it's assault, plain and simple. Don't assault other people. And just because you're in school doesn't give you the right to physically assault another student.
Yes.
Although in the book they do try, and even in the movie, the teacher does try and punish her by taking away something she wants. But then you're having a bratty child who's going to throw a fit.
And she takes it out on Carrie.
And they should have seen that coming because I would have.
Yeah.
Because obviously it's Carrie's fault that I got into trouble. She didn't actually recognize that it was her own fault. So you can't just punish these kind of people. You need to send them to therapy. You need to have additional resources for them so that they can start to recognize that, actually it's me because I'm the one who did this horrible thing to Carrie. It's not Carrie's fault I got into trouble. It's my fault through my own actions. So, they try in the movie and the book, but then they kind of fail by doing a half-assed job at the punishment. Because you need to address the issue, not just take something away or punish. It's a horrible way of teaching children to be better adults.
And then looking at the bad, I personally would have liked to see more stuff surrounding Carrie's home life with her mom. Because the book deals a lot with how her mom treats her, and there's a lot of scenes and a lot of chapters dealt with just how she's suffering at home. The movie was more focused on the school and the bullies and everything happening school side. We got a couple of scenes at home, but not much. Not as much as I would have liked. Because that's the real problem with Carrie's life, is her home life. So to see more of that would have built character a bit better. I would have liked more home stuff.
Yeah. It starts at home. If you've given your child skills to adapt, then they might not lose their shit when something bad happens. But she doesn't have that at all.
Oh.
I feel like, though, that the movie did enough for me that they gave us that idea that her mom is absolutely awful, and that's all I needed from the home life for the movie.
Yeah, it did definitely give it, but
you would have liked it.
I liked more.
I think it was fine.
Just considering how crazy her mom is in the book, like, it would have been nice to see it, because
No, we saw it. She's nuts.
Yeah, but more bonkers.
No, I think they gave us enough to comprehend that she's off a rocker.
Also, and this is just me again, the music didn't add much throughout it. It was almost like, cool, we need stock music for serene scene. We need stock music for scary scene. We need stock music for building up suspense scene. And that was it. So I would have liked like somebody like John Carpenter to see what he could have done with the music there. If he could have added this incredible score throughout it. But it was fun. It just didn't add anything.
Yeah, I think it was fun, but like you say, it could have been better, and it probably would have added a lot more to the atmosphere. And then, like, my gripe with some of this is like the opening scene is like girls walking around naked, and I'm just like reminding myself this is teenage girls in a high school. So I find it a little creepy that that's the way they chose to open it. And I know it has to do with the whole theme of women coming of age and stuff, but like, it's kind of, I don't know, yeah, iffy.
Creepy.
Yeah, and
not necessary.
Yeah, I didn't think it was necessary.
Was the showers okay? Cool, people are going to be showering. We
didn't have
need
to focus
see
on
teenage girls
naked, and we didn't have to focus on it that much because there was a lot of nudity. And I know, like, logically, the actresses aren't really in
Teenagers.
school, but still, they're portraying and trying to make you believe they are. And if you get sucked into that movie, then you're kind of like being a pedophile, getting sucked into the nudity of children, and I just felt uncomfortable with that. And then another thing, obviously, is that Carrie looks a lot more innocent in the movie than she did in the book.
Yeah.
Because in the movie, when, for example, that kid knocks her with his bike or was mean to her, whatever, right? She just kind of half unintentionally made him fall. Where in the book, she has a lot more intention.
Yes.
So she looked a lot more innocent in this.
She did.
And then obviously we already spoke about Chrissy, the bully, and how much of a monster she was.
Because we didn't get the background that you were talking about, it was this extreme escalation,
Yeah.
though, from like bullying someone in the shower to I'm going to drop pig's blood on your head.
And killing a pig, because they went and actually killed the pig for the pig's blood. They didn't just like go to a butcher and ask for pig's blood for a school experiment or something.
No, they full on just murdered a pig.
So yes, the escalation seems so out of proportion in the movie.
Yeah.
So this is where I would have liked a bit more background. Because in the book, it makes complete sense for Chrissy to have this escalation because she's already so disturbed. Unhinged, yeah. I almost want to say demented because that level of cruelty is demented.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that would have given a bit more to the book if they'd given more intention to Chrissy.
So overall, I mean, Carrie 1976 is a really good adaptation of a good Stephen King novel.
And I think not only was it a good adaptation, it was a good quality movie because as we'll go see, you know, in the upcoming weeks, some of the other Stephen King movies, or the adaptations rather, are not as good.
No.
I enjoy the story because obviously it's Stephen King, but the acting and just some of the script writing and directing and everything is not great. But I still like watching the movies. But we know what's in store, so very pleasant that we started with this one.
We started off on a really high note. So that takes us to ratings, and I gave it 8 out of 10.
And I think I gave it an 8.5.
So 8.25.
Pretty good.
Not too shabby.
Because, like we said, the escalation needed to be spoken about a bit more.
Yeah.
And the music.
So next on our list is The Rage Carrie 2, which is apparently a direct sequel to this one, with Carrie being dead.
And undead.
So yeah, let us know, how do they do that?
And what did you think about it? Because they could have just left it where it is.
Yeah. I don't know if a sequel is a great idea for this.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.